exactly the same way. Same rotation. Shaping comes back to here rather than this way, which takes you away from the thumb. So just wanted to make a point that as you learn those skills, they begin to apply to other places. I wanted to show another example of arpeggios in the left hand. We don't often pay so much attention to it because the beautiful melody is in the right hand. But there is tremendous amount of activity going in the left hand. Unlike not exactly similar to the Mendelssohn, they're much larger, very often, distances, and again, we have the tools that we have to overcome them without stretching the rotation, the walking hand and arm, shaping in and out. So what I wanted to show here, that it works the same way. We turn rotationally, and I wanted to add the in and out again, the aspect of the rotation, the in and out. If we stay out here and we're going with the fifth finger, short finger, to the black key area, we'll have to do something like that. It immediately puts the arm very far out, far from where it has to go, and very often it gets tired, and other symptoms can happen. And also, it's not efficient because we're going so far away from where we have to be. All we have to do is really move into the thumb. The second finger is a long finger, and we write over the E flat. Coming out here, I come a little bit out because the thumb is on a white key area. There's no reason to stay inside. But right away, I'm going back in, the thumb and the fourth finger to accommodate again the fifth finger on a black key area. So it looks very smooth, and if you didn't suspect that all of this motion is going on, you wouldn't think too much of it. But it saves hands, this understanding of the in and out. We stay inside here because we have an arpeggio, and you see, again, the rotation is there. The thumb here has to place get off staccato because it's immediately is repeated by the right hand, the melody. So if we stay here a little bit longer, this is not going to come out, we're not going to sing. So it's a little bit of a rebound that takes us to here. I'm staying in because, again, I can't completely connect it because it will bring a lot of an arm this way, but it's almost, all the motions again are making it possible for me to get there as quickly as possible and smoothly. I'm staying inside, and I'm staying inside, I don't know if you could see there, but my forearm is adjusting to the fact that it's coming a little bit in to accommodate where I'm going in, and I'm going, stay inside again. 5-1 and 1-5 cannot connect, but we have a little bit of a rotation, even smaller, that can get the forearm right where it has to be. And again, 1 to 5, the motions of connection with a little disconnection to go this way, or I share it with the right hand, and again going inside again so that they're not twisted movements in the technique. Going down, this is again sending me rotationally, bringing the forearm, what we call the walking hand and arm, going again in order to accommodate the coming fifth finger on a black key. Staying inside, staying inside, staying inside. So there, we have to be aware of what's going on with the choreography, we could say, of the piece. Where is it staying out because long fingers are on black keys, and when are the shorter fingers going in, and we have to accommodate it so it's very smooth. is not immediately going right back to the blocky area. So this is again being very efficient with movements. Another thing too that is worth noting in something like that, that while we're looking at the arpeggios, something else is going to happen right away. Okay, starting here, suddenly we have leaps. So what do? Do we move suddenly, which very much upsets the smoothness of motion. It's not fast enough. Very often we get tired. So again, if we take efficient movements, just the rotation sends us back. There's time to get the sound that we want and be sent back. Be sent back. It's important not to be fooled by the smoothness. When it looks very smooth, that it looks like nothing is happening. When all the pieces are there, it looks and it feels also like very little is happening, but something is happening in a very, very, very efficient and very expert way. Another thing to note, when he does Granados, forgot to mention it's the epilogue from Granados, he ties some of the notes, which to me means he wants a little bit of a pull, a little bit of a forward. It's all part of a shape. Same here, because here he puts just a rest, but here again a little bit of a pull to coming down. And then again rests, and it works with the right. Not only a way to continue to itself. It's more expressive, but also brings the right in, like a wave. Here it doesn't do it, but here it doesn't do it. So everything works very, shall we say, the modern work organically. You know, the relationship of the hand to itself, the relationship to the other hand, the relationship of the voices to each other. So again, to show how the physical and the musical are part of a whole. That's a complicated piece. And that's why it's not something that I would ever recommend to start with, even though it has some scaly situations with some distances. Because by the time he got to that, his hands were ready to tackle some more things. You know, so it's very important to get to do things when the hands are ready with the more basic stuff, because then it's not such a challenge. And also, it's simply very difficult to show some of those things when there are all kinds of other issues. If somebody cannot do, not able to do the basic work, we just have to help them as much as we can within, the situation that they're in. But that's it. It will not go deeper into really setting up a whole bottom up, a whole foundation that can last, I say, for a lifetime, if everything stays the same. Okay, so let's go to what measure?
It's measure 43.
Okay. There's a lot of issues with fingering here also. Okay, so what?
I
Tell me
feel
what.
stuck.
Stuck.
Especially in this.
Okay, so I have a question to you. Here. Okay. What is the shaping here? Because I think that here maybe there's in and out, but it could be also that the shaping is not getting you to the right place. What's the shaping here? What do you think? And what do you think that you're right and what? That's right. Is that what you're feeling?
Yeah.
You sure? Let's try. Let's try. Okay. Is that a different under?
Yes.
Okay, so he thought under, but it wasn't an under. Now, how do I know it's not an under? I want to show you. At the end of an under, let's see if I did the same thing. There are also ins and outs here. At the end of an under, you're on your way up. Between here, this is an under shape. The fourth finger is already playing forward. Because it's the beginning of the over shape. You know, everything is related and everything is linked, and that's what happens with all the movements. So the last note of the over shape is the G, but it's also the first note of the under shape. And the second note of the under shape is the first note of the over shape. So we have to measure it. We can't just go like that. But he didn't have, like this is an out with a forward. All of them, all those outs are the forward.
Because
have
of the
out-
undershape?
Because of the under shape. You are not, so what the under shape does, it sets you up for the next over shape. And if it's not like that, it's not set up, you know, for the next over shape. So this is, I want to show you, he has the right answer. But the hands didn't do it. So as teachers, if a person says, first of all, they have to say the right thing. If they know, sometimes they don't know, you just show. But it's good to always ask questions because that's what creates independence of thinking. You take the material and you begin to ask questions. And when you can't answer, you go to the teacher. At the beginning, you really don't have much, you know, to work with. But as you're doing it, and sometimes I have to reframe the questions for them for greater clarity. But that's how we have to observe, you know. Yeah, he said the right thing because he's smart. Okay, now be smart physically.
Okay.
Right. And it works with the in and out. Right. How's that?
But I'm not still.
Yeah.
What follows? I always feel stuck in this.
You're stuck, yeah. When you have, that's a very good point. You know, when you have the two fingers like that on the two white keys here, which are so narrow, you feel stuck unless, where are you? Here. The in and out is the savior of that. Because you're coming a little bit out, you go forward, you see, you're playing it too much here. See, so you feel it, it's not even much in and out, it's more forward. You see how my fingers release? The fingers that are finished have to release over and also into the neutral position, which is this. So that's, and the lesson will work on making the in and out more precise, unless you bring it and it's exactly right. How's that? Right, how's that?
It's fine.
When it goes a little bit forward, you lose that, the combination of that and the tiny rotation underneath solves the problem of crowding there. One more thing, and we call it a day.
It's measure 46. I still have trouble with the liquid. These ones we usually find here to here, but when I have to go back, it
Okay.
fails.
Can I try it? Okay, so it's a question again, how to feel secure. You're not sure that you're going to make 46. By the way, you also can go, well, it doesn't matter, whichever finger because, you know, I give the choice also of doing 2, 1, 2. Either that. You know what I would like you to do? Get there, but I want the elbow actually to stay closer to you, because you see, you can go like this if it came back in another way. But what happens here? You're going right back. You don't want the elbow to be, the arm to be too out. You want it to be, this is still a good place to be. So, could you try just to keep your elbow more at your side here? You may be moving too far to the D. So again, it's an issue of context that you want to be, let's see if that works. It may not work. Then I have to look at something else. Or to be somewhere, if you took just from here to here, where would your elbow be? Yeah, but don't drop in the air. Right. How's that? Yeah. And the elbow wasn't there. The elbow was more here.
Yes.
Yeah. So you see, so there is the question of, again, the detail and context. There's a detail and there's the context. Where are we going next? Because that fifth finger could be in more than one place and be right depending on what's coming next. So it would have been right for another situation, but it's not right for going back to the C sharp. Okay, try it now. Right, the only thing I would suggest is not, I would call it, this is within legato leaps. They're not legatissimo, but you're thinking I'm staying here and letting the forearm just go there. There you go. Okay. There's a totally different feeling not to release when it shouldn't. When it doesn't need to be released, the release will feel wrong. When it needs to be released and be staccato, then that's the only way it will feel right. Good. Good. Okay.
Also, is this going to be connected? Or?
Let's see. You know something, can we work into the lesson, because I have a couple of possibilities for fingering. Okay, and I think maybe you took some of them, because I see it there. One second, you're asking me if this is
No, from E to the...
No, I would let go a little bit. I would do the grouping like that. Right. But you see, I'm keeping you know, but this is legato. Right. Do it again.
Yeah, was disconnected.
Okay, so where you needed to disconnect, you didn't, and when you needed to be legato, you disconnected. So also we have to be, in other words, it's that there is a little bit, a little let go, again for a better grouping, happens here, but this to that should feel legato. So for whatever reason, somehow music is written in a way that where you do the right thing, it will feel just right. And if something that is connected, you do a little bit disconnected, it's not going to feel right. It's just the nature of things. So part of it is really, that's the nature of things. Hugo, you did great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And are you ready for some more learning?
Yeah.
Because it's going to be an intense afternoon. A lot of learning. First, we're going to have a wonderful pianist playing the first movement of the Chopin B-flat minor sonata. And she'll come up with questions. It's a very hands-on, you know, how we do these things, they're very hands-on. And I'm going to analyze measuring the in and out in a piece that all of you, I know everybody's sick and tired of it, kind of including myself, except that there's things that I have to keep repeating again and again and again. So in self-preservation, I'm going to go over some details that I always find people, you know, still having issues with. And then I'm going to do something that I've never done before, which is actually 2 people who are working with me for the last few months agreed to share their experience of where they came from, what were the problems, and what are some of the solutions along the way. And I didn't ask them to come and say it was terrible, now everything is wonderful. Things are very good now. But to see why we have to train so much, because there's a lot that we know, we've watched tapes, we've been to Princeton, we come to this thing, we go to Philadelphia, but there is something that happens that has to be more than that, and that's what the training takes. You can say the right thing and there are no results. So these people, especially one, was told the right things, but still the pain didn't go away. And then he started working with me, and lesson after lesson, you know, I'm telling him clearly I know what I'm doing, but he comes back and he says, I still have pain. So I just want you to see, to go a little bit with me, like behind the closed doors, you know, to see what happens and how much is needed to know, to really help. Sometimes you're lucky to have somebody, you know, you show them, everything goes fine. But because of the training, some of the training is so injurious to the hands that people come with layers of wrong. They were told one thing, they were told to isolate the fingers alone. Then another teacher say, you know, relax the whole arm, relax the body, relax the shoulders. So you have all that weight on top of something that is still a problem. And then someone else said, you know, you really need to shape this way. And someone else said, no, you really should get your wrist down, you know. So it's really layers. It's like archaeological excavation at the piano or at the violin or at really any instrument. So people come with a history. I guess it's psychoanalysis, you know, at its best. You know, that you take layers and people become aware then what else is not working and so on. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'll see if you find it interesting. I'm doing it because I think it will give you another view maybe of what's required, you know, beyond just knowing the work in a general way. But we started with Sakura Myers, who's going to play the first movement. Come, Sakura.
Oh, and well, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Just a disclaimer about my finger bandage. This is not a playing-related injury. This is a cooking-related injury. Preparing Easter dinner, I sliced the tip of my finger off. But luckily, I did it on the bias. Thanks to this magical medicine I was given, the flesh has filled back in. So I'm just waiting for the outer layers of epidermis to grow back. So if you hear any split notes in the pinky, it's because I've got a lot of cushion going on here. But yeah, it's not playing related.
Very good. You have the kind of the mind aware of this. Really the power, you have the power for this sonata and the temperament, and it's, you know, you figure out why, you know, why you forgot. It was okay to play from the music also. You know, people feel self-conscious about playing from the music, but as far as I'm concerned, it's completely fine. You know, I have a few comments, but you had very specific Sakura. By the way, Sakura is a student of Bob Durso, and she's a graduate, both undergraduate and graduate student, was of Manhattan School of Music, and hit some very bad problems along the way, was really injured, and Bob got her out of all the pain and disability, so you can play very freely today and get what you want. Yeah, it's great. So you had some very specific questions, but I wanted to say something about this sonata, because you raised some things, you know, about the suddenness of changes. You know, suddenly, you know, you have the piece going on, and suddenly there's a change. What do you do with it? And we'll go into it. At least my idea. It doesn't mean it's the right one, you know. But this is how, you know, what my feelings is about some of the musical issues that Sakura raised. I never tell people that way. With the technique, they have to listen. But with music, you know, I will give a suggestion. But if someone feels very strongly about doing something else, it's I don't take it personally at all. And sometimes it could be a better idea. You know, what I wanted to say about this sonata altogether, and I think it gives maybe also a sense of what it's about, that it's really a departure from the classical form of sonata. Basically, you know, you have the fast movement, the slow movement, you have the minuet or the scherzo, you have a full last movement. Here, the whole thing started with a funeral march. You know, that was the first thing that he did, and he was a great lover of Beethoven Sonata Opus 26, which has a funeral march. He was deeply influenced by that. So I think that people have taken it to be all about death. And I would say the last two movements, in a way, the last one is like, the wind over the graves and all of that, there is a sense of shivering, of something, something that comes from someone's death, I guess. And also, I don't know, I feel strongly, I like to read what's in the background of a sonata or in a piece of music, but I like in many ways not to be influenced by it. Because a piece, it's nice to know also, but not to be so influenced by the story that you miss out, what the composer is actually doing, and you can have your insight into it. He wrote it maybe under the influence of great sadness, clearly the first movement is full of turmoil. And I think I actually wrote down that George Sand said that he had morbid visions that haunted him the whole time that he sketched this sonata. He was in Mallorca, which is one of the most beautiful places on earth, but he had all those morbid visions, and Schumann famously said that this is, what he said, it's Chopin got to get bound together four of his maddest children. This is what he said about this sonata. So it's an unusual sonata, starting with the first movement that is the way it is, full of drama. Second movement, that people also think it's very haunted and all of that. I look at it a little bit differently, but whatever. So why don't we start actually with your questions? We'll go maybe from the physical, because you mentioned some measures. This is what you wrote to me, 81 to 88. Is it maybe meanwhile it's...
Oh, I used to go from a different, but it's this, I need to have it,
Here, this is what's in my music. At least that's what I was...
Right, so it's just,
It is the left hand. Okay, did you ask here also?
Yeah, and the recapitulation, but we can do it here too.
Okay, so was that a problem?
It's
Just these, okay. So is it okay? So this will be my question first. Is there a problem with the one second, where does it start? Is there a problem with the first two, or is it when it goes to the next measure? In other words, if you do this, is that a problem?
It's usually when you come to the top of the pattern,
Yes.
not flipping the top note, but getting back.
Okay, so to rephrase, the problem is really not, so this is one of the things that we learn as teachers to diagnose. Is the problem in the actual measure, ta-da-da-da, which can be, it's, what is it, measure 67, 8, 69. Is the problem there, or is the problem going from there to the next measure? Because what's happening, there is a leap. So when we see the slurs, we think ta-da-da-da, and we don't notice, so we're not prepared to go over the leap. And it's not just that it's a leap, but you have to go inside, because you go into with a fifth finger on a black key. That puts you more inside. So if you just, right. Okay, so why don't you go? You want to go over what you originally came, or you got some answers already?
Well, I've seen what
I
the young
did
man,
there.
yeah.
Okay.
But I haven't been able to. I haven't been able to do it myself. What he was saying. So I use the same fingering in the left hand, but I haven't.
Do you want me to help you, or do you want to go to something I can help you?
Yeah. Yes, please.
Do you like?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so why don't you show them what is the... things that were suggested
Yeah,
to
it's,
3 days ago.
it goes now better, but sometimes I just forget the shaping here and I do kind of wrong shaping, then it doesn't go, and it's obvious that I have to do the overshape here.
Right, so sometimes you do it like it's an undershape and
Yes.
then it doesn't work. Okay, so guess what? You do overshape.
Yes.
You do it as an overshape. You start all the way in, and the overshape is not very big. Remember, we're still doing, you know, finger to finger. Right. Then it doesn't work. Okay.
I have to do the overshape here.
Right, so sometimes you do it like it's an undershape and
Yes.
then it doesn't work. Okay.
That I have to do the overshape here.
Right, so sometimes you do it like it's an undershape and
Yes.
then it doesn't work. Okay, so guess what? You do overshape.
Yes.
You do it as an overshape. You start all the way in, and the overshape is not very big. Remember, we're still doing, you know, finger to finger. Right. Right. I just wanted to see if when you start, if you pull out on the first finger, do you? Yeah, go forward. Right.
Ah.
Right, you're inside, but you need, it's the beginning of an overshape. Right. So it's a little bit forward. Right, it doesn't start, I think you start it like straight down.
Yeah,
A little bit
it's
of
good.
an
Now
up.
it's good.
Now it's good. Good. So, right, so like one correct motion already makes such a big difference. You know, inside and a little bit of a forward starts, and we have what is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Five note overshape. So the high point is in the third finger, second finger, and this one second. I think that. Can I just try it? Yes. Yeah, it's one shape. So this is the high point. This is a little bit down, and this. And the other thing, I don't know if I got a chance to show you, but actually, when you come out on the 2, it becomes a little bit of an undershape to the, you know. So I think that what also helps is again to know where is the 2 going to, right? It's not just I'm coming out, but it has a relationship. First of all, just to make sure that that's very clear, the single and the doubles are still working there. It's just a very, very small, and the shape is almost like the movement that glues everything together. You know, the rotation, the in and out, the walking hand and arm, and all of that, and it makes it a one. But this, you know how much to actually to move out when you relate this last note to here. It's a leap. So, you know, it's a double rotation staccato, double rotation leap. Let me just make sure that it's it's a little bit of an under going to and over here. Yeah, but basically to feel it as leaps.
And also, here is the end of the overshape, not here. I just actually practice like this is the end of overshape, and I do kind of under.
No, it's not an under. I think that you're just getting a little bit higher here, but it's actually, it's really the end, and you know it because of where it's going next. You know, there's a change of direction. If you do it like lower here and then getting higher, it doesn't work. It doesn't work to take you to the next note here. Right. How's that?
It's good.
It pulls it all together.
Yes, it's now very good.
So again, the context is very, very crucial, because if something else, if there were, let's say, other notes that were involved after the 2, it wasn't going to the A, it may have been true to come down on the
thumb.
On the thumb. I don't know if it crossed, and I don't know when to something else. You know, it's very contextual. You know, shaping is very contextual. You know, very much. You know, decisions are made very much on also what's happened. You know, it can be one way if what the next note is whatever it is. It can be the opposite. Yeah. Very good. And then it can be the opposite. Yeah. Very good. And then wait, and that's also not the end, because this is going to take you here, right? Right. It can sound like the end of. And then wait, and that's also not the end, because this is going to take you here, right? Right. It can sound like the end of a figure, but it continues. to the places that bother you. You know,
so
the things
here
that,
I practice here. So as we discussed before, I just practice only the legatos here. Now it feels actually good.
It feels good. Okay, now detach it. You know, the only reason that I suggested legato is very often when we detach, we lose the relationship of one finger to the next. How's that?
It works.
Works?
Yes.
Very good. And you definitely feel all of this as over shapes. You don't feel this.
Yes.
Okay, good. Very good. And you definitely feel all of this as over shapes. You don't feel this.
Yes.
Okay, good. Very good. Yeah, but you know when you good, how does that feel?
It was very good here now. I just did a one over shape here.
One over
Yes.
shape and then down. Even though you
Sends
get
it
it,
back, yeah.
it sends it back, but you can give it a little bit of a longer sound because it does completely say da 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 dum, bum, ba da 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 da. But it doesn't mean that the arm stays there because then how do you get to here? And it's just an eighth note, but I would give it a sound, you know, a little bit of a longer sound. Good. So let's go to the what's next.
The next place was here, but it just sold all the powers because I actually started from here and then I go all the way in, but now I play.
Right.
And do I have to play also this one here in here?
Let's just see. Let's see. Okay, so what solved the problem was, you know, that before you were out.
Yes.
And now you were going across, which normally is what happens in the exceptions. Okay. So what you're asking is actually should this be inside?
Yes.
Well, you know something? It's yes. You don't. It doesn't have to be very in. This is already enough to put you right across. About here. Yeah. If you two out, you have the movement across and you have the movement in. It's just too much. You know. That's well, you're complaining, right?
Yes.
If it comes as a complaint, there's something. Must be something better. You know, and it doesn't even have to be so short, you know, because when you live in the keys, it's already staccato. It doesn't have to be so. You know, it feels very, you know, very, I think, too plucked, you know. And you know, so you can also give it, look, the fact that it's detached doesn't mean that they have to sound so separate. They still have a phrasing, right? Bum, bum. Okay, so let's show. And bring out a little bit of tongue. Right, I think that they do one other thing that will make it feel even better. Look, instead of doing so each one, they do play separately, but they have a shape which makes them, you don't have to do so much of that. You see, it's very close.
Yes.
Just by leaving the keys, you don't have to be here and, you know, all of that. And it give it a shape, it's more musical. You see? That's right. So just go from one to the other more directly. Right, and then it's going to be a little bit more of a staccato because of the send off, because of the leap. What's that? Right. That's it. Right. Right, can be even more direct. Right. All you have to do, the keys come up, it's staccato already. Right, much less movement. A little bit more here. It's just right there. How's that?
It's better.
So really learning that when less is needed, versus when more is needed. Right, send you, right. Right. And even that doesn't have to be so short. Right. Right. How's that?
It's good now.
In other words, the air doesn't, the plane doesn't benefit from all that air,
Mhm.
in between.
Yes.
It can be, it's in, sometimes in training, we do a little bit more, but then, very close, just go directly. Right.
Feels actually more like they got to here now.
That's right, because it feels more linked. They feel more keys to keys, it feels more like you connected to the piano. And otherwise, you're up in the air. Right?
Yes.
And it also takes too much time. You're losing time. The moment you leave the keys, you can make them a little bit shorter, a little bit longer, but I wouldn't go to here. I would go to where I'm moving down. Yeah, it's a little bit of a rebound. Right, and then you can also shake. Right. So it feels much more comfortable physically,
Yes.
and musically it sounds more like a line. Rather than separate notes, separate thirds.
Нет. Какое может истощение? Никакой. Если ты не двигаешься, какое у тебя может быть истощение? Кроме пьяного движения.
But here I need more to.
Exactly, it has to be a stronger send-off because it's a greater distance. So if you do, but if we use the big movement to the very small distance, it's too much movement. This is more exactly we learn to move just according to need. Right, it has to send you directly to where you're going. Good. Very good. By the way, when you get it more power, where exactly there? So when you try to get more power, don't get more fingery. Get the power from the form. Right. Right. Exactly. And less fast into the key. And you get a nice, much more rounded sound. I would like to show two notoriously difficult lines from Chopin's Second Ballade, starting at measure 47. I don't think I've ever had a pianist bring this piece without asking me about these two lines. So I'm just going to turn the camera into the keyboard so that you can see clearly. I will destructure, in a sense, the different motions that take place here that end up working together as a unit. So the first one is, what is the rotation here? We start intervals always balanced toward the thumb side. They're not going to balance over this way, tilted, but they come this way. It's a double rotation to the E, double rotation, then it's going to be a crossover. The crossover, the thumb, normally when we go back, we play it as a single rotation. But again, since there is an interval here, going to the right will make it feel out of balance. So we're going to the left and we're playing it to the left. And again, a double, a double, a double. So it starts as a single, the crossing over starts as a single, but ends up as a double. It's left, left. And as you see, it brings the form right over where it has to be. And again, double, 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 double. So this is one aspect of it. The next aspect is that we have all white keys and we have long and short fingers. So if we start here and we don't do something to play to come out into the white key area, we're going to either play in the heavier black key area and have the black keys kind of separate the fingers, or very often what people do is curl the fingers, which is one of the main sources of tension, or twist around. There are all kinds of things that we do in order to avoid that, but there is a very simple solution. As we rotate, with the second part of the rotation, we move a little bit out. So this motion of the form is taking place just enough not to be in the black key area, but then moving a little bit into the second finger in order to bring the form and the finger into the keyboard, because otherwise when you're playing, if you're coming into bringing the thumb in, the thumb is still not where it needs to play on the keyboard, so it needs another little movement, that in movement. And when we do it together with the rotation, we end up going very straight rather than what people very often do, which is twisting, which is another source for serious problems and pain, often in the wrist, that can extend all the way to the elbow. So this gives you the chance, the first two main movements of the rotational movement and the in and out movement, and the timing of the two movements is very crucial. And that is, again, that the preparatory motion is exactly where we played it the last time. We're on the bottom of the key, the form turns ever so slightly to the right, and with a second swing, when we come back to the key, to the left, we do our in and out, and it moves a little bit in. Again, together with the rotation here, if my fingers don't curl, my fingers, they are, as they shouldn't, they are over the black key area. So here is the rotation and the out, in, out, in. With that, if I just did this, it's a lot of motion, and a lot of motion doesn't work well in speed. So there is the next one, which is what we call shaping. And that is that as we're coming out, we're getting a little bit higher, we're going back, we don't get higher anymore, we're ever so slightly going a little bit lower, and it comes down to the thumb. It creates what we call an overwave, an overshape. And that has to happen from the form as it gets slightly higher and slightly lower to accommodate the length of the fingers. It's still, it does it to the degree that never breaks the wrist, never gets too low, and never gets too high either. So it's very, very small. And we finish here, the last note of a shape is also the first note of the next shape. So we come down, and this is the beginning of the next shape. So the next shape is 5-finger. The high point is always in the middle. So in the case of 4 fingers, the culmination of the shape is between the third and the second finger, between the E and the C. But we don't feel that it gets still higher. We just look at the forearm and it does this slight motion. Here it's 5 notes. So the third note is the high point. And it always should be done in a way that the slightly going up makes you want slightly to come down at the right time. It really feels as a very smooth overwave, overshape. Now, as you can see, when I do that, my forearm shifts. So all those movements, the rotation, the in and out, the shaping,